Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about eyeshadow palettes, and you know how much I love my eyeshadow palettes. And today we're going to talk about my top holiday palettes that I have in my collection. There are some of the older palettes, there's some like newer palettes that are entered into my collection and I cannot stop using it. So without further ado, let's begin. Let's start off with the eyeshadow that I'm using on my eyes right now, and that is from Huda Beauty, and this is the Icy Nude palette. I personally, when I was buying this, I knew what I'm getting. And I thought that this is not going to be so special in my collection. But I cannot deny that whenever I have used this palette, I feel very pretty. Like, I absolutely love the eye looks that have come out of this palette. I absolutely love it. The least interesting column of this palette was these golds for me. And I use those today on my eyes, and look at my eyes. I absolutely love the way how this turned out. I'll plop the look towards the end of the video, how I achieved this look, because it was super simple. I basically used all these shades, this shade, and then this VVS shade on the inner part of the eye, and that's it. And I absolutely love the way how this turned out. I really cannot deny, I love the Huda Beauty palettes that I have in my collection. I absolutely have everything, I think, except like their like older new nude palette and the recent one, which was the Empowered palette. Apart from that, I have everything else in my collection, and I love each and every one of them. So I feel like if you especially are into those like icy tones and you do not own much from the Huda Beauty line, I feel like this is an amazing palette. It can be a little bit more controversial, I feel like, because some people really like it and some people hate it. And I get that there are not much of like deeper tones in this palette, and there are a bunch of lighter tones in this palette. But if you like some icy tones, I don't think you will be disappointed. I really like this one. Okay, let's dip into an older palette, which I feel like I love this palette only for special occasion. Like, this palette only comes into handy when holiday season comes for me, and that's why I wanted to mention this. And this is the Adept Minka palette. This is full of special shadows, okay? Absolutely full of special shadows. And this is like my Christmas New Year palette. I absolutely love this one. I do often use this side of the palette very regularly, but these like chunky shimmers, they look very like, you cannot miss that person if you are wearing this eyeshadow. Like, this is some blinding shimmers. So that's why I wanted to like recommend this to you. If you're looking for like some impactful shimmers on your eyes, you will absolutely love it. Let me just swatch a few of them so that you know what you're getting into. I really love these, but I don't think I'm the one who will wear these like on an everyday basis. Like, I still have the pigment on my eyes. Can you see that? Like, look at that, how impactful that is. And I went so lightly, but they're blinding, absolutely blinding shimmers. So I definitely wanted to recommend that. Now, if you know me, you know I love my purples. And if you want, I feel like purple is such an elegant way to amp up your colored looks. Especially if you are into neutrals and you want to dip into like one color. I feel like purple is my neutral color, okay? I really love it. And if you want to get some pizzazz in your holiday season with some purples, I personally feel this is so pretty. Such a pretty purple palette, and this is from Krypton Cosmetics, and this is their Crazy Violet palette. Like, look at this palette. You definitely get your neutrals on this side, but the looks that you get from the other like purples and mauvey tones, they are some beautiful looks. I could not recommend it, okay? I really wanted to get this in front of you guys because this palette is absolutely amazing. I love the quality. I just love everything about this palette. I love it, absolutely love it. Oh yeah, I definitely want to recommend this. By the way, I do have a code with Krypton Cosmetics. It's Smithy Sony to save you 10% off. I also do have a code with Adept Cosmetics. That's also Smithy Sony to save you 10% off. I have all my codes in the description box below for you guys. Okay, now the next two palettes that I'm going to talk about is from Cosmic Brushes or Cosmic Beauty. And I'm talking about the Cooltrals palettes and the Nudetrals palette. I feel like this reminds me of New Year. And this, I feel like I can definitely rock in like Thanksgiving, some Christmas. I really love both of these eye look. So let me show you Cooltrals. If you don't want like some like shimmery, shifty shadows, Although this palette does have like shifty shades too, but there's some elegant, beautiful shimmers. I feel like this is so appropriate for like those like cooler tone months, like wintry season, New Year's. I really love this palette. So I definitely wanted to recommend this, but also let me show you Nudetrals palette, because I feel like for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, this palette is amazing. Like, look at that. This is like a neutral palette with a twist, and I get some glam looks out of this palette. So definitely wanted to recommend this. And also saying that, like, from the indie brands, I feel like Cosmic Beauty is one brand that is pretty affordable, especially if you are in the overseas. I feel like you will absolutely love it. You should not skip it. Like, I really love this brand. Let's talk Glaminatrix Cosmetics. I feel like Glaminatrix this year, they came out with a barely basic palette, and I feel like, yes, it is everyday appropriate, but you can get some glam holiday season looks with this palette. This gives me warm, cozy vibes. Like, Thanksgiving is like all up here. I really love the way how this turned out. You can also get some cool tones look over here, and these shimmers are so blinding. Like, you have some like thicker shimmers, but you also have some toppery shimmers that can completely transform your look so very nicely. I cannot recommend this enough. This palette is absolutely beautiful. I think they have something new coming in the works too, but I could not recommend this. This is a beautiful palette. I do have a code with Glaminatrix too. It's Smithy Sony to save you 10% off. Okay, let's move on to Unearthly Cosmetics. I feel like if you don't want a palette like only for holiday season, but you want a like a year-long palette which can give you some neutral looks but also can give you some elegant glam looks, I feel like Sorcerous Smoke is for you. Like, I feel that this is such a beautiful palette. Like, look at this. This can take you from day to night in seconds. Like, this is amazing color story. And the looks that have come out with this palette is absolutely breathtaking. I cannot wait to use this even more because I absolutely have loved everything that I've created using this palette. I absolutely love this. This is some beautiful shimmers and beautiful mattes. They're so buildable. The shimmers are like, it's very shimmery on the eyes, but they are very finely milled, so it doesn't look chunky by any means and never creases on me. That's the main reason I really love this palette. I know for a fact that Unearthly goes on sale quite a bit, especially during this Black Friday season. That is where, and if you see this palette on sale and if you do not have it, you need to snag it. It is so pretty, so pretty. Okay, let's talk about Gourmande Girls. Gourmande Girls last year came out with Silent Night palette, and I feel like this, it's all in its name. Like, it's wintry, it's cozy. I feel like this is so beautiful. You can definitely get some warm tone looks but also some icy looks. I love this shade so very much, and they have also given us some neutral browns. It is beautiful. This is an amazing palette to have in your collection. I feel like these set of palettes is what I love. The quality of Gourmande Girls, I love this set of quality. I really love it. This gives me so much of joy. Cannot wait to wear it this winter season. I'm gonna love this. I do have a code with Gourmande Girls too. It's Smithy Sony to save you 10% off. Okay, let's dip into a colorful palette. I don't think that this is ideal for holiday, but I feel if you are a color wearer, and especially if you love some pinks and reds and like purples in your life, you need to try this Bella Beaute Bar Red Roses palette. Oh my gosh, this is so pretty, so pretty. I was avoiding to put this palette here, but I was like, no, if you like reds and pinks, you will love it. Like, look at the multi-chrome shift that is going on here. It is so pretty, you guys, so pretty. I love this palette so very much. I'm not big into reds, but the lower half is calling to me. Like, this is so pretty. I cannot even tell you, this is clearly my favorite shade in the palette. So vibrant, so shifty, so multi-chromy. I love everything about this palette, and the quality is right up there. I could not recommend this. Okay, I also have another Bella Beaute Bar palette. Let me see where it is. Found it. It's the recently de-influenced palette. Now this came out in like the Halloween season, right? But I feel like this is so beautiful. Again, if you're a colorful wearer, so beautiful for like Christmas because you have those red tones, green tones, some beautiful like icy tones too for like wintry and New Year season. I really love the looks that I've created using this palette. I think it gives us such a good variety of like cool tone looks plus warm tone looks. It's so pretty, so very pretty. Mine is an older palette, but right now if you buy the palette, it is more on the magnetic format. Like what is not to love about that? I love customizing my palette, but this I love the quality, love the shades that were chosen in this palette. Beautiful, beautiful palette. I have another Adept Cosmetics palette with me, and you absolutely can guess what it is. It's the Flying Fiddles palette. I feel like this palette can give me everyday looks plus glam looks in seconds. Like I love to wear this shade, like when I really want those like coppery glam tones. This is so very pretty. It's not like super shifty. They do have like some shifty shades here, but elegantly it's very sparkly, very beautiful. It's very finely milled and it can definitely transform any looks. I created like a smoky eye with this green. Looked stunning. I wore this Daylily shade with this blue brown pigment. It was looking stunning. I really love this palette so very much. I cannot even like wrap my head around like how am I going to rank all these palettes towards the end of the year. I don't even want to think about it, okay? Okay, let's talk about Simply Posh Cosmetics. Simply Posh Cosmetics last year came out with Cozy Cabin palette, and I feel like this just screams holiday. I don't even know if they're coming out with some other palette this season or not, and how can they top this palette? Because this palette is by far my favorite palette that they've ever created. This is so warm and cozy. Like I want to cuddle in a blanket. It's, oh my gosh, this gives me feelings. Like this is so warm. So like this gives me like that longing palette feel, you know? All these tones are giving me like Blend Bunny Cosmetics longing palette feel. And this is so warm and cozy. I feel like this palette is such beautifully curated palette. I really love this. Oh, I cannot wait to create more with this palette. I have to start my Throwback Thursdays, okay? I really want to do it where I want to use all of this palette again. Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm getting so much that I'm forgetting to use the palettes that I have in my collection. And when I open this, it gives me so much of joy that I cannot even tell you. Oh, this is so pretty. I have my code with Simply Posh Cosmetics. I think it is Smithy to save you 10% off. I'll put everything in the description box below. Okay, let's talk about Nomad Cosmetics. I have two palettes from Nomad Cosmetics and I am absolutely head over heels with both of these palettes. But when talking about holidays, I have to talk about Polar Express. I do have a code with a Nomad Cosmetics. It's Smithy Sony to save you 10% off. This palette is icy, it's warm, it's like muted but colorful. It is so pretty, you guys. On the eyes, it looks absolutely stunning, but they've also given us like some neutral shimmers here too with like some beautiful browns and like crimson shades. Oh, these blues, stunningly beautiful. Like they melt within each other so very nicely. The blend is killer. Like I love it, absolutely love it. Oh, I love this palette. Okay, let's talk about Natasha Denona. I feel like this palette is definitely like an everyday palette, but I feel like for like holiday season, this can come so handy. I feel like I fell in love with this palette more than I thought. And I'm talking about I Need a Warm palette from Natasha Denona. I do have a code with Natasha Denona. It's Smithy Sony to save you 15% off on their website. This is how the palette looks. Look at this. It might look boring, but on the eyes, somehow it translates so very well. And they gave us like multi-chromes too. And this duochrome, I have my heart over it. Like this dynamism shade, so pretty. This homey shade, it looks magical on the eyes. And this like cream to powder formula, oh, isn't this? No, this one, the cream to powder formula is so pretty. And this is my favorite crease shade. Like so pretty, you guys. This palette is amazing. Amazing. I wear it to office quite often and I absolutely love this palette. And last, certainly not the least, I've not spoken about Ensley Rain, so you know it's coming, right? So let's talk about my favorite holiday palette from Ensley Rain. I would say is the Cold Moon palette. I feel like you absolutely cannot go wrong with this palette. Although mine is a little customized just because I pulled my favorite shades from Cold Moon and I put it in another palette. And this is my creation of the palette. I have everything regarding this palette in I'll link it in the eye-cards above. I've already like filmed what shades I used in this palette because this is my favorite creation that I've done in like build your own palette series, and I refuse to take this out because I feel like this is absolutely perfect for me. I feel like this is everyday but with a twist, and I wear this so often. I get anxiety if I get the shades out of place because I really love the way how this came out. But yes, I'll show you how Cold Moon looks by itself. Mine is a little like janked up, but Cold Moon palette is so beautiful, especially if you love your cooler tones, mauvey tones, your icy tones. This palette has some beautiful multi-chromes. So if you're specifically looking for like, you know, multi-chrome shades in your collection, for example like Terra Moon Cosmetics or Cleona Cosmetics, and you want everything in like one place, I feel like this palette captured it so very well, you guys. It has some holochromes, multi-chromes, everything with such amazing quality. I love Ensley Rain. That's not a news to anybody, but I feel like I definitely wanted to show you guys my version, which is heavily, I would say, Groovy Garden, Cold Moon and Flutter palette. Those are the three palettes that were used heavily in this palette, and I love what I created. Okay, this screams holiday, everyday, Thanksgiving, New Year's, Christmas, everything to me. So I cannot not recommend that. I really love that palette. But also the Underland palette that they came out in the Halloween season. Oh my gosh, I cannot even tell you, like, this is so pretty, you guys. I definitely felt like this is very deep and dark and grungy, but the looks that I've created out of this palette is absolutely beautiful. I recently did a video where I used this shade all across my crease. I deepened it out with this, and I used this shade, I think, and this shade. Oh my gosh, it was amazing, absolutely amazing the way these shimmers shift. I feel again like very cozy vibes, but if you are more into like deep and dramatic shades, I feel like this is a palette that cannot be missed. This is so very pretty, so pretty. Okay, I do have a code with Ensley Rain Cosmetics too. It's Smithy Sony to save you 10% off. And if you do use any of my codes with any of these palettes, I thank you very much. It helps out my channel a lot. I put it right back into the channel on purchasing more palettes and reviewing it for you guys. But that's all for today. I definitely wanted to share my passion about eyeshadow palettes, especially holiday season. You know, in holiday season, who doesn't love getting ready, getting some beautiful looks out of the door, right? But that's all for today. Now let's move on to the eye look that I created using the Icy Nude palette. I'm taking First Class all across my crease, just giving a little bit of peachy tint to my eye. It's pretty much my skin tone shade, so you won't be able to see much. That's a good blending shade for me, I would say, like a beautiful transitional shade. Okay, now let's dip into Faux Fur, this one, and it's a deep chocolatey brown shade. Bring that towards the edge, and then taking it inward and melting it with that First Class shade. These shades blend very well. I was trying to compare this to the other Huda palettes that are there in the collection. It's not like exact. You definitely can find like similarities, but this is definitely more on the muted side and more like cool tones leaning as compared to the other Huda palettes in the collection. I'm taking the same Faux Fur shade on the outer corners of the lower lash line. And to blend everything out, I'm going to take this Cold Plunge shade, this one, on the edge, just to clean up everything. or if you're my skin tone, pretty much like brightening underneath the brow bone, inner corners, etc, etc. I like the way how it's turning out. Okay, I'm taking Gold Standards, this one. That's a pretty smooth shimmer. It's not sparkly, it's like a traditional shimmer, but I can see that coming in super handy. Just to warm up a little bit of the looks in this palette. I appreciate it. I appreciate the versatility. This definitely didn't call out to me when I was like swatching it, but on the eyes I don't mind it at all, because it's not that yellow gold. Like, it's not too yellow for me. It's more like a white gold. Yeah, I think this is pretty unique in Huda's collection. I'll blend the edges, but before that, let's take VVS, this one. I'm gonna take a tad bit because this is a little bit more on the flakier side. And I'm gonna take that in the inner part of the eyelid. Against that looks a little bit more on the rose gold side. But that has so much more shimmer. Like, it compensated for the shimmer that was not there in the white gold shade. Really pretty. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna take that Cold Plunge shade again. I'm gonna take that in the inner corner because I don't want to take away anything from the shimmer that we applied right now. And actually, I'm gonna take Avalanche, the white shade, and just tap right on top of it, just to give even more brightness. Just like that. I'm gonna finish off this eye with some liner and mascara. There you go. That's my final look. I love the way how this turned out. It's so elegant. It's so simple. I use like 4 shades on my eyes. It's so pretty. So very elegant. I'm going to church right now. I'll come back and I'll finish up this video. But I absolutely love this palette right now. Now, once you've seen all the look, the palettes, everything, do let me know what are your top 3 palettes in your collection that you absolutely pull it out in the holiday season. But that's all from me. I do upload 3 videos every single week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.